Transfer window, I think it's shut now in Europe.
Yeah.
But it's still open in Australia. And what that means is we can sign players from elsewhere, but we can't. The window's shut in terms of selling our players to Europe in particular, which is probably good because a lot have gone. Some really good players, in particular around Macarthur FC. They've done some good business.
They have.
It's going to impact them on the field, though, losing Ariath Piol, Ollie Jones and Jed Drew. The one we have been sort of umming and ahhing about whether that's the right time for him to go. Just quickly, what do you think about his destination, TSV Hartberg in Austria?
Yeah, obviously the mid-table at the moment in the Austrian league, and I think it's a great move for him because I think it's also a stepping stone where he has a good opportunity to play, and they've given him a contract to 2028. So, 3.5-year contract, that's a pretty long-term deal. He'll probably have a little bit of time to find his feet. I think it's a really good move because you see so many A-League players so often go to a club that's maybe one level too high and then they have to take 1 or 2 steps backwards. So, hopefully he can keep his momentum going in his great A-League form and, start off quickly there.
I'm sure that club hasn't signed him to 2028 thinking or hoping he'll still be there in 2028.
That's right.
I think they're a selling club in a selling league and hopefully he kills it and takes another step. But that's a great first step into Europe, I think, as well. I agree. Just on Macarthur FC, they have signed one player. They've signed Saif Eddine Kawi, a French-Tunisian with a lot of experience, used to play with Valère-Germain as well.
Yeah, Olympique Marseille, so some CV he's got, and if you see his highlights, he looks like a very technical player. Not quite the same player as Jed Drew, probably play more centrally, I suspect, so might be a bit of a reshuffle in the front third for Macarthur, but they still have so many options in the front third, and when you consider Economides, for example, coming back from injury recently, they've still got so much quality.
Well, they could have one more, Tommy, because the report came out earlier this week from King George Clark of Australian Associated Press that Macarthur FC are in for Garang Kuol, another guy we've spoken about a lot on this show, speculating whether he should come back to the A-League at this point, given he's sort of had 2 loan stints at Newcastle United that haven't worked out, and then a quad injury, which has really hampered him. But as we see these highlights, look, for me, first thing I'll say is that I wonder if this is the player that Mark Jackson was talking about earlier to us about who he was trying to get in, the kind of player. I would prefer to see him. You mentioned about Mitch Langerak going back to Victory. I'd like to see, if he needed a loan move, going back to the club that he originally came from, Garang Kuol. But I think we forget how good he was when he burst onto the scene.
Some of the goals, the
here.
finishing we just saw on screen, and his end product. I think that's the thing that it was the difference between him and other young talented players was he was getting goals and assists, and he was having like a tangible impact on all the games he was playing. It wasn't just flashy moments. And no, I think he's at a point in his career he needs to start playing regular football again. And if Macarthur or the Mariners were to pick him up, I think that would be great business for them.
Yeah, people say we overhype youngsters and all that sort of stuff, and we do get excited about young players who emerge in the A-League, but you couldn't help it with him, not because we thought he was ready for Europe. I don't think anyone thought that at the time, but week after week leading into that 2022 World Cup, he was coming on and making impacts, as you say. He was scoring every week, and each week you'd watch and it would be like, is he going to do it again?
Yeah.
And he comes on and he does it again.
Exactly.
And then he did it for the Socceroos in his first game against New Zealand. And then at that point it's like, well, mate, you've done it too often. We can't leave you out.
And we've seen so many young players, he's still so young. We've seen so many young players come back to the A-League, likes of Aaron Moy, and re-kickstart their career and go back overseas. So, he just needs to play regular minutes. He's always been one of those players that always has a big impact off the bench, but he needs to be a player that can play 90 minutes week in, week out. I think that's the next step for him because we all know if he can do that, what quality he brings to the team.